Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 for Verizon Wireless. Before I get this device out of the box, let's talk about pricing and specifications. Of course, this is the Verizon variant, as I mentioned, $299 with a 2-year agreement, $699 off contract. In terms of specifications, they don't really list anything on the box here except for the fact that it does have 32 gigs of internal storage. Keep in mind that that is expandable through the micro SD card slot, but otherwise specs are sparse, really just contents. Of course, the Note 4, the pre-installed SIM card, the lithium-ion battery, the wall charger, quick reference guide, global support brochure, and the product safety and warranty brochure. Other things that are noteworthy, the fast charging feature. Even though we did not get USB 3.0, we do have fast charge capability now, and that should be a big advantage. Super AMOLED display. Quite frankly, that's one of the key ingredients in the Note success from beginning to right here in the 4th generation. And we do have a larger display now, higher resolution, so really everything working in this phone's favor. When you think about it, you have to keep in mind the Note 4 is the true flagship for Samsung. This is the best device that they make, hands down, as long as you're comfortable with the actual form factor. And clearly the sales numbers have reflected it, as has the competition. The fact that even Apple now has emulated the phablet push that really Samsung, and I'll even give Dell some credit, began way back when. So here it is, the Note 4. Some key improvements. Of course, the screen is a little bit larger, 5.7 inches, 2560 by 1440 res on this Super AMOLED display, a little over 6 ounces, so it's still very lightweight, still a very thin handset, despite the fact that it does have, in my opinion, one of the most powerful feature sets that you're going to find in any handset ever made. And let me go ahead and put this aside, get to the rest of the contents, and then I'll come back to the phone itself. So I'm expecting exactly what I read to you before. So, the basic Verizon Quick Start Guide, our USB charging cable, as well as obviously used for transfer, and then the standard, I'll put this aside, the standard wall charger as well. And in terms of charge times, it's going to be interesting to see what this actually ends up doing, despite the fact that we didn't transition, as I mentioned earlier. And then last but not least, I believe, and it is the battery itself. And the battery, I think, is rated at 3220 or 3230, somewhere around there. But either way, from what I've seen so far, battery life tests appear to be very solid, considering the large display that this sports and very powerful spec sheet. So let's talk about that spec sheet as I unwrap the device. So I've already mentioned the display. You can see we still have a physical button. Samsung not abandoning that. That's part of their brand at this point. They've improved the front-facing camera. That's right there. We now have a 3.7 megapixel Facey or selfie, whatever you want to call it, camera. And of course, Facey was a creation here, but I'm starting to think that that's the pitch, because selfie may become passé sooner than you think. Not that that'll replace it. Beyond that, of course, all of the applicable sensors are right up there, but it's all about what's underneath here, because we have a Qualcomm quad-core 805 Snapdragon under the hood, which right now is top-tier hardware, especially when you put it up against the 801. Is it a tremendous jump? Not leaps and bounds. You may not see it on some day-to-day performance, but we also have a revamp in the graphics chipset department, the GPU as well. So I expect to see some significant performance enhancements. We also have 3 gigs of RAM, which has become somewhat standard. Of course, 4 gig devices are probably right around the corner with 64-bit development happening. 16 megapixel camera right there, also capable of 4K video capture, so that's pretty exciting. Not new necessarily, but new to the Note line itself. You've got your flash right there. There is, of course, the fingerprint scanner. I'm curious what audio quality is going to be like, both on the receiving as well as calling end, because that was something that with the S5 I wasn't incredibly happy. Again, the lines on this phone I do happen to like. You've got a metal frame for it. Definitely a more premium feel, I would say, than the plastic that Samsung had used for so long on previous handsets. Your power button right there, the S Pen tucked away right at my right-hand thumb, your USB charging port right there, as well as, I would say, what are obviously two microphones there flanking it. Noise reduction, noise cancellation must be at play without any question. Your volume rocker right there on the left side. And I mean, I showed most of this to all of you that follow the channel in my preview. Your 3.5mm headphone jack up here at the top, infrared blaster, because after all, this wouldn't be a Samsung device if it could not also act as a universal remote control, like pretty much every quality Android smartphone. I wonder when that will become a feature for Apple. But that pretty much sums the phone up in terms of its form factor. The S Pen, definitely an improvement from what I've seen so far. I will see if I can power this up for all of you. And expandable storage, the fact that you've got a removable battery, these are all things that, in my opinion, do differentiate this product significantly from something like the Nexus 6. And I also think the Nexus 6 is a little bit large. For those of you wondering how you actually remove the back door, that's the pry point right there. You just got to get your nail in there, remove it, as I just did. Back plate is still plastic, has that faux leather finish. They have not done away with that, but they did abandon the stitch, and personally, I hated the stitch. A lot of people like it, loved it. I'm glad to see it go. But here's the actual phone, sans battery, what it looks like. Your SIM card right there, micro SD card slot right there, and really just what you would expect it to look like. But let me get a battery in, and let's power it up. I've got to make sure to remove the SIM card first, since I do want to retain my unlimited data. Not that this thing is tied to any plan, but I'm not really interested in trying to find out the hard way. And even the SIM card removal is simpler. I mean, I'm not trying to kid here. They actually designed the SIM slot right there, as you can see, so that you can actually pry away the SIM card. Something that, I don't know, they just didn't think of, many other manufacturers. And that's all of them, not just one. So now that is out of the way, let's go ahead and see if I can power this up. See if we have any juice on the battery. And we do. And the display, as I mentioned before, really is the calling card, the selling point, in my opinion, besides all of the internal hardware upgrades, the Wi-Fi, dual band, of course, the Bluetooth 4.1, the GPS improvements, even the camera improvements, you know, now, having 4K video capture now. These are all great enhancements, but at the end of the day, this display is what, at least for me, is the winning component. So much like the Galaxy Tab S, which has the best screen of any tablet on the market, this now is going to be able to brag that it has the best display, at least until the Nexus 6 hits the market. And that may change things, but until I see it, right now I already know we're looking at the best display on any device on the market. And when you compare this in weight and size to something like the iPhone 6 Plus, this is a winner there as well. I mean, hardware, I'm not even going to begin to compare. Just to put it side by side with another phone, something comparable, what I have been using, here we've got the G3, which you can see is considerably smaller and has a 5.5-inch display. I'll open it up. So that is an advantage to the G3, no question about it. But despite that advantage, the Note 4 is just a beast when it comes to, I mean, just having the Super AMOLED is enough to make me want to use the Note 4. Forget the fact that you've got an S Pen pressure-sensitive experience that outdoes everything. I mean, I've demoed it already. Battery life should be better here. This is also a thinner device, despite the fact that, again, the form factor on the G3 is still unprecedented for a phablet, or at least now normal-sized phone is what I'm going to start to call it in future videos. And I will be comparing these for those of you that are curious. But otherwise, I've mentioned, you know, Bluetooth 4.1, Wi-Fi, of course, 802.11 AC, dual band. These are all the things you expect. NFC, of course. Wireless charging, you will have to buy an optional accessory, which is unfortunate. I wish it would be built in already. But you do get the benefit, again, of that removable battery, which is huge for power users that are going to rely on their phone for extended use that they won't necessarily get. And by the way, I have this cranked all the way up. I can't right now, well, I could bypass this if it wanted to give me the English language out of the box. But it does want me to go through the activation process, which I'm going to do myself, and I'll update all of you. You don't have to worry. But again, a really solid looking device. I like the design overall. Definitely a little bit larger than the G3, but just the screen alone, plus what I anticipate with the cameras and software, frankly. Despite the G3 being a little bit more stock, I am a fan of what Samsung has been doing lately with TouchWiz, and I'll get into that in software demos. You don't have to worry. So this is the unboxing for the Note 4 for Verizon Wireless. Again, a 32 gig model, expandable up to 128 gigs additional through that micro SD card slot. Of course, MHL, I didn't mention that, does have video out for those of you curious who don't want to mirrorcast and just stream. But this is the beast to beat right now. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.